Law enforcement second opinions. Hey, it's Susan. Welcome to this afternoon's episode of War Crimes Unit. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, get a damsel in defense stun gun. 7.5 million volts could save your life one day. You can get one online through the iSue's Home Shopping Mall on Facebook. This one, like all of them, come with a removable safety pin so it can't be used against you. Oh my gosh, law enforcement second opinions. You know, I have to go back to what the Office of the Director of National Intelligence told me, oh God, about 4 years ago. Kind of applying this to everything. And I'll never forget, like, I couldn't get information, and they were just like, why don't you ask somebody else? I was like, oh, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. So, you know, applying to all of this corruption, you know, why don't you ask somebody else? Always a good idea when there's a bunch of corruption, get a second opinion, especially a law enforcement second opinion. And you know what, oh God, I mean, they went to crime fighting school, they went to law enforcement school, police officer school, whatever, deputy school, trooper school, sheriff school, whatever school that is. Get a second opinion from local law enforcement. I mean, you know, back in 2005, even an FBI agent that works for Homeland Security Investigations said make police reports on everything. I don't know. Was that to get a second opinion, Lazaro? Hell, I don't know. Don't ask me why the hell he couldn't fix anything. But anyway, I didn't show up for work last night at the hospital. No evidence exists that anyone from the hospital contacted the local police department. So what do you think about that? Something's all right with that. So I keep saying over and over again, they're hacking the hospital. How many videos have I done on this? They're hacking me at the hospital, right? And see, the police were out on Friday night. If you watch the previous days, you know, you got to follow along here. You're going to miss something. But if you watch the previous days, I got this letter from U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich of New Mexico, and it's a pretty big letter. And I needed to show the original letter to local law enforcement that could be very, very important. You know, and so I had a Santa Fe, New Mexico police officer came out to the hospital, to the intensive care unit, while I was on duty working, and took a report. And so I have a report number. He took a report. Okay, that was like thumbs up here, you know, on that. But then, you know, something happened yesterday. Well, actually, you know, after he left, boy, did I get hacked. Boy, this nurse Brian, this travel nurse, boy, he was hacking me all freaking damn night. And I was getting hacked, and he went out to smoke, and he had the charge nurse Shannon come and sit there at like where our nursing station was. And you know what? He even told me later he was trying to get Shannon to try to like figure out what I was saying to the police. Like him and this other travel nurse, this new one, what the hell was her name? Rachel or something like that, were making jokes like, oh, you were just having a relationship with a cop. You guys were screwing, you know, whatever in the nurse's lounge or whatever. I'm sort of thinking, dude, I have a very serious issue. My whole entire family's missing. I can't get any answers from the government as to where my family is. We're supposed to be in the Federal Witness Protection Program, if anybody was following standards, or something that is not right, and I had to keep going back to the Senate. It's actually a very, very serious issue. Assholes at the hospital. But, you know, that's why I had the police come out, because it was a serious issue. I mean, it was so serious. When I got that letter yesterday Friday, I almost thought about calling in sick to work or calling them and telling them I was going to be late because I needed to have the police come out, you know. And then I said, well, maybe I'll just try to catch them when I'm at work. So, but the police came out, they took a report, and I told that officer exactly where I live. I mean, the letter from U.S. Senator Martin Heinrich says where I live, and I even gave the officer the exact hotel room number. So two Santa Fe police officers know exactly where I live. So it's not like the police have to go to like a judge and like go get like I don't know what you would call that. I'm not exactly sure what you would call it, like a search something, not really a search warrant. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not like that they have to go get some kind of discovery warrant or something, or do something big like with a judge or legally to figure out like where the heck I live. You see, they know exactly where I live. Okay, so like, now here's the thing, if the hospital, anybody at the hospital really cared about my safety, and it's a whole conspiracy why they don't, see, they would have contacted the police because they already knew the police were out on Friday night. They would have contacted the police And then they would have, the police would have just came knocking on my hotel door because they know exactly where I live. They would have been like, oh, Suze, we know where she lives. They come out and check on me. It's called a well-being check, And then they might come out, and then they would come out and figure out, what's wrong. But, I mean, I had called the police, actually, and told them myself. I called the police, and I told them myself, one officer. I had, I have her number, so I called her and just told her what was going on. But, nobody from the hospital called the police to check on me. It's not the first time. It is not, there's a pattern to this. No one in the healthcare industry has ever called the police, whether that's anybody at the hospital or any of these nursing companies. Because if they would have contacted the police would be contacting me. That's how things work. See? Except for one doctor, Venkat Veerapan. He's a neurologist. And all hell broke loose, and I was really, really upset. And I was trying to get out of the country 4 years ago. Back in Las Vegas, I had dropped off this Homeland Security letter to Senator Harry Reid, dropped that off, and I was like, come on, I need a doctor's appointment, I need a physical, because I need to get the hell out of this country. He called the police. His office did. Las Vegas Metro Police came out and figured out what's going on. That's how I know. When somebody would call the police on my behalf, the police would come out to check on the situation. That's only happened once, and that's only because I had to drop off this big Homeland Security letter to a neurologist that I worked with. But nobody at the hospital called. Nobody. It's being done intentionally. All right? Because they've been trying to hack me at the hospital. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go up to Sacramento. They're going to do it right there at Dignity Methodist. Coming up next week, they'll be hacking me at Dignity Methodist. It's not going to change. Now, here's what I'm learning. Okay, I'm learning that nobody in the federal government lets the local police or even the sheriff's office really know the case. I think that's weird. Don't you think that's weird? I mean, I think that's really weird that I have to contact the police. Do you know what I'm saying? I have to tell the police about this case. Don't you think one of these Homeland Security special agents should be contacting the police and saying, God, you know what, Sue's got this really big safety risk. It's a really big safety risk for Sue's. Anything happens, call us. I don't have evidence of that. I don't have evidence that even anybody in the U.S. Marshal Service is contacting the local police and saying, God, you know what, Sue's got the FBI in trouble, whole FBI task force in trouble. This Agent Joe, he's been, he's been acting like a real asshole, this FBI Agent Joe. Anything happens, call us. I don't have evidence of that. I have evidence of that it doesn't appear that that local police know the case. Or if they do know the case, they don't have all the information, or they don't have the right information, or they're being misled somehow. I've seen in some cases, all of that is true. Different cities and states, there seems to be different things. But sometimes all of it's true. And then so I have to get, that's one reason I made this synopsis of the case situation and what's going on, so I could give it to local law enforcement wherever I go. The same thing that's on Amazon called Genocide, America's Love Affair with Al-Qaeda. The 20-year saga of a man ICE can't deport because of everyone else. And you can get that on Amazon Kindle for 99 cents. But that same thing that's on Amazon Kindle is what I gave to local law enforcement right here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So they had a synopsis because, them in their professional capacity as, people that went to law enforcement school and understand organized crime, understand, criminal activity and stuff like that, they would at least know that, hey, you know what, there's just something not right with this, because it doesn't appear that things are being followed right. Like I was telling the officer, I said, I can't even get an update on my family. This is why I had to go back to the Senate. There's something not right that nobody in the federal government's giving me an update on my family. I got one deputy, the U.S. Marshal Service, named Jennifer, telling me to make missing persons reports on my family, but I had to go ask her. Not like she came knocking on my door and said, oh my God, we looked into this case. Suze, we looked into this case, and oh my God, they're attacking your whole family. I had to go to their office and ask. And there's something not right with that. See, there's just something not right with that. When I look at other cases and see how things are done, whether I read them online or like I actually see stuff and I compare that to this case, none of these policies and procedures are being followed. It's intentional, dude. It's intentional because they pawn the kids, and they're using the kids outside of the country to trail terrorists. See, if you put the kids in the hands of people they've already identified to be threats to national security, and then they trail the kids overseas, they can catch more terrorists. They can lead them. They're using the kids to lead into more terrorists or lead into more terrorist organizations. They're using minor children. That's why I can't get any answers, and there's all these colorful stories. And the stories might be true. It might be true. Inspector Grau told me, he said that the U.S. Marshals can't get the kids because of U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. Okay, so that's one inspector that I know that's absolutely horrified. One inspector is absolutely horrified over this. But if he can't get the kids because of Eric Holder, well, if he can't get the kids because of Eric Holder, then they got to go back to the Senate. But do you see it? Do you see the level of corruption? So there's all this crap going on over here, all this, which is what is in that short story. Same thing I gave to the police, but then at the same time they're hacking me in a bunch of bullshit at the hospital. And, you know, I think that the government would be very, very happy if I was one last loose end. See, because if I show up missing or dead, they can make this whole case disappear. They could. The federal government could make this whole case disappear. Unless there were other people in law enforcement looking into it. They might not. They might not if the Senate knows about this. Congress knows about it, the Senate and the House. They might not if other law enforcement knows about this. You see. So the make police reports on everything is also an effort to let other law enforcement know about this case. We got real terrorists that were running the streets of America that the FBI has been playing games with for years. It also runs a deep question on the whether or not you can even trust the FBI. Then local law enforcement, they just have to sit there and think, God, can we trust the FBI for anything? I can tell you I don't trust the FBI for anything. I wouldn't trust the FBI for one damn thing. Especially when it comes to terrorism. You go back and you read the 9/11 Commission, and the 9/11 Commission, especially staff statement number 9, law enforcement approach to terrorism pre-9/11. It goes into how the FBI didn't have their shit together, nothing's changed, or they're continuing to cover up for all their mishaps. You know what? I don't know. The FBI, they lie all the time. They're liars. I think they learned that in FBI school. I don't think that special agents with ICE are much better because a lot of them are FBI agents. So I don't trust anybody in the special agent category anymore. I don't trust anybody, any special agent in the FBI. I don't trust any special agent within Homeland Security at all. I fired all 3 of the ones that I had. I never want to see another special agent again in my whole frickin' damn entire life. Ever. If somebody else has to deal with these special agents and somebody else can deal with these special agents, I will never, ever, ever personally deal with another special agent ever again, whether that's Homeland Security or whether that's the FBI. Period. Because they cover up for each other so much. You see? And then, then there always raises the question. I mean, yeah, sure, Peter Lazaro told me to make police reports on everything. I don't even think that he contacted other Homeland Security offices nationwide. I don't get that impression. I don't get that impression. Or they're just trying to smoke show something. You see? I mean, really, Lazaro, what are you going to tell me? What are you going to tell me, Lazaro? You were having trouble with your boss? One day, Lazaro, you can explain this to me. But you better be on your damn knees explaining this to me, because why in the hell is my kid out of the damn country? As far as the case goes, I already told the U.S. Marshal Service down in Houston, Texas, when the subject of a WITSEC came up last year. And he said, well, Susan, don't you want WITSEC? I said, oh, don't worry about that. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Don't worry about that. So, essentially, that was my decline to testify. You treat somebody like shit over and over and over and over again on a daily basis. On a daily basis in more than one way. And you do nothing to stop it. You know other law enforcement is abusing me, and you do nothing to stop it. You leave me out on the streets. You let me get kidnapped. You let me get raped over and over again. You let me hop a plane out of Houston to Barrow, Alaska, to almost wind up in the Arctic, based on a sex trafficking scandal at the hospital. And you expect me to testify? Fuck no, I ain't testifying. I ain't testifying for anything. So I've declined to testify for the federal government. It's bullshit, dude. It's total bullshit. So it's always good to have a law enforcement second opinion. Always good to have your local police who are experts in this get, second opinion. Good to have your local sheriff's office give a second opinion. Foreign law enforcement, always good for them to get a second opinion too. We got kids outside of the country wrapped within Al-Qaeda or whatever terrorist organization they're wrapped with, and the Islamic Republic of Iran or whatever. But like my situation's like a domestic violence case. It's like the case from hell. And one thing that the Avon Foundation encourages victims to do is speak out against domestic violence. So always make sure if you're a crime victim, you speak out and tell people about it. Make videos like this. It doesn't matter how crazy your situation is. All crime victims have crazy situations. All domestic violence victims have crazy situations. All human trafficking victims have crazy situations. And all victims of terrorism, like me, have crazy situations. I just happen to have, like, all of them. I've got the law enforcement brutality case. I've got the human trafficking case. I got the domestic violence case. Human trafficking, domestic violence, law enforcement brutality, terrorism. I got all of it. I got all four. So, never be afraid to speak out for yourself or for someone who can't. Anyway, that's tonight's episode of War Crimes Unit. Always get a second opinion. Make sure that you're getting a second opinion from law enforcement. Never be afraid to contact your local police. Nice episode of War Crimes Unit. Keep your stun gun handy. Remember, you can get one at the ISU's Home Shopping Mall on Facebook. Or keep your machine gun handy. There's real criminals and terrorists out there. I'll see you next time.